Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Your Favorite Movies. Today, it's episode 5, and I'm talking with Fritski. And what are we talking about today?
Today we're going to be talking about the one, the only Pulp Fiction. There's only one, and hopefully they never make a sequel or make someone like who's not Tarantino coming in making a sequel or a remake or something. I'm not going to be too happy.
Oh, God, that'd be awful. And how are you
That'd be
doing
so
today?
bad. I'm doing good. What about you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited to talk about this movie because it's your favorite movie, and it was mine for years. There's probably people out there that's like, oh, this isn't your favorite movie anymore because I changed it recently. But I really love this movie. It's in like my top 4 or 5. Do you remember the first time you saw it?
Yeah. I had seen it when I was in elementary school. Um, I know, way too young to watch that freaking movie, but
Get the gimp.
um, yes, exactly. That's kind of how I started to kind of widen my knowledge of. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that, but nonetheless, um, yeah, it was a lot of that and a lot of South Park. But really, yeah, no, I started on way too mature stuff at way too young of an age. But anyway, yeah, I do remember when I first watched it. I would, if I had to guesstimate, it's probably between fourth through sixth grade, somewhere like that. And I remember watching, well, my dad, we used to have a cassette player, or not a cassette player, a VHS player. I'm so uncultured for calling it a cassette player. But yeah, we had a VHS player, and my dad actually used to have the film on tape. And I remember we didn't have a lot of tapes. He only bought VHSs that he loved, and Pulp Fiction was definitely one of them. I had watched it, and I don't know what it was, but something about it, even when I was little, like, yeah, it's a very adult movie. It's very rated R. I didn't understand half of what was going on at the time, but something about it like clicked for some reason. Somehow, some way, like this is what really like I don't know, it just made sense if that like makes any sense. And like I think that this is what really made me start to appreciate I wouldn't say it's the film that made me start to appreciate film and like become like a little bit of a become a film critic of my own. That was The Nightmare Before Christmas. When I
Really?
fell in love with yeah, I fell in love with stop motion from The Nightmare Before Christmas. I spent more time watching the special features as a kid. Um, I think than the movie itself, and that's what really got me interested in film. But what really made me more interested in not so this is when I started to kind of see the filmmaking side of it more, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Nightmare Before Christmas is what got me interested in filmmaking. This is what got me interested in or made me start to notice, I should say, production stuff. Start to notice well written scripts, well choreographed acting, visuals, the soundtrack hitting at all the right moments and falling into appropriate times. Um, and I guess the dialogue goes hand in hand with the well written script as well. Um, and and if anything, this was the first film I saw that broke the fourth wall. That This is the first film I
Oh, yeah,
saw
yeah.
that really like, broke boundaries, broke rules. This was the first time I like saw a film that where I was like, hey, I don't know who made this, but whoever it was has to be pretty damn smart and a genius because this was so again, I was little and I wasn't really understanding the emotions I was feeling, but I was like, this person has done something very different. And that this is something that I have never seen before. And I was just in awe. I was intrigued and I wanted to know more. I wanted to know who the hell this Tarantino guy was. I wanted to, when I looked up the later, I wanted to see everything Travolta and Samuel Jackson and Bruce Willis were in. I didn't even see like I hadn't seen tons of their past movies prior hand, such as Die Hard, for example. I hadn't seen obviously that's one of Bruce Willis's other top-notch
Yeah.
performances as well. Yeah, I hadn't seen that at the time. I wanted to see all of the cast's other previous films. I wanted to do my research about everyone who was involved with the film, not just the cast, but I wanted to look up the production team who was in charge of the camera work, the soundtrack. I wanted to the set designs, the production designs. I wanted to look up where these locations, such as the diner, where the heck that was. I wanted to like this is what got me wanting to like invest myself into film the way that I am now. And this is the film that really sparked the flame for me. And I remember, um, if we're going back to throwbacks, I remember when I was in my sixth grade. I don't know if I saw it in sixth grade or prior hand to sixth grade, but I remember being in my sixth grade class and quoting this movie to all my
Oh
friends,
shit.
and I got in some trouble for it. But
What
yeah,
quote?
a lot of Samuel Jackson, a lot of Samuel Jackson. We'll say that. And then I believe, if I am recalling correctly, and obviously I don't want to give away too many spoilers for folks who
We
haven't
can
seen the movie.
we can spoil it.
Um,
I'll just put a spoiler warning
you
on here.
sure? Okay.
Yep.
I remember repeating the dialogue from the overdose scene on Travolta's end. I remember repeating a lot of it. And of course, the kids my age didn't know what the hell I was talking about, but my teacher sure did. And yeah, she wasn't too happy. But yeah, but yeah, I mean, that was little old me. And I guess, like, yeah, it's kind of turned me into the person I am now for sure. But no, yeah, that was my part. Ever since then, though, that film has just remained my favorite film ever made, just because I think it changed me as a person, you know? Um, I think that the film, like, I mean, I've seen tons and tons and tons of amazing films that almost beat it over the years. I mean, sixth grade to I'm about to graduate as a senior in high school now. That's a long time gap. But I will say though that like that's just the one film that just has always stayed there, and like it's never really left. It's kind of just always been there to fall back upon. And it's crazy that a film, obviously this is something else I realized about films, like especially films that stick with you. I mean, Pulp Fiction, as we said, it's never been remade, it's never been redone. When the film is
Thank
over
God.
with, yeah, thank goodness. I don't know. I don't even want to say I don't know. I really don't think that could ever work. But what I will say though is that that film, once it was done, it was done. Nothing was ever added onto it. There was no like at least like I mean, yeah, there's deleted scenes as there is with any movies, but or any other movie, I mean, but um there was no additional adding on to the story besides fan theories. Um Once the film was done, it was done, and there's nothing else being added to it. And it's just you know that the director and the entire team did and made something great when the film has stood the test of time like that. You know what I mean? I think part of the reason we talk about, I mean, I've seen from your poster, it's like you're a fan of Star Wars, Alien, those franchises in particular. I think part of the reason that those get brought up so much is because pop culture, like things are added on to them. Like there's always new memes, and even in the last decade, we've had more films being added to the franchise. I think that's kind of what gets the conversation going more. But what's really amazing is when a film like Pulp Fiction, for example, it's not a series, nothing's being added to it. It's just stood the test of time, and it has good foundation. It was built on good ground. And yeah, that's like I think it's really amazing that the film has been able to be as strong as it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, I get what you mean, and even saying like how the movie is like when it's done, and like I think only thing that would add on to it is not actually in the movie, it's just other Tarantino movies interwoven, like when Mia's telling the story of the TV pilot, obviously that's literally Kill Bill Volume 1, like that is
Yeah,
exactly what it is, but it's not taking away from the movie, and I mean, as I said, this is one of my favorite movies, and I totally agree with everything you said where when you watch it, it changes everything. Because I always say the movie that, well, there's like Star Wars: The Force Awakens was like the movie that I was like, whoa, whoa, movies are like cool and stuff. But I had loved The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight, like the whole Dark Knight trilogy is still my favorite trilogy, all my life. So I could partially give it to that. And there are like a few movies. And then I typically say The Departed was the one that made me kind of in your way go like, oh, there's writing, there's production design, there's cinematography and all that. So when I saw The Departed, I felt the same way you felt about Pulp Fiction. And I remember the first time I saw it because I had seen Reservoir Dogs a little bit ago, like a few months earlier, and I absolutely loved it. Like I thought it was a brilliant movie. And actually, my channel was started before I watched this movie, and I'd been asking because this was still the time where I'd ask my parents when I could watch R-rated movies, which is crazy, but still. And then they always would say no. They'd say no, it's too bad. No, it's too much swearing. No, all this. I'm like, oh, it's not like that anymore. Okay, people, it hasn't been like that for
yeah.
years. But
I know
then
Gavin the Geek is still like that to this day.
yeah, yeah, I get that. And then I remember the first time they're like, yes, you can watch it, you just have to skip the GIMP scene. So I was like, okay. And I watched it with my best friend Logan, and it got to that scene, and we obviously knew what was happening. We're like, I don't even want to watch this anyway, so we skipped it. But I have seen the movie multiple times, so I have seen that. I watched that scene. That's a better way to describe it. And it's just brilliant from every single aspect of it. I mean, Tarantino is, I'd say, my favorite director. I think this is his best movie. It's funny that this is the second Tarantino movie we've talked about in 5 episodes. I've also talked about Django Unchained with Josh from After Credits, and that video was up here or here, whatever side it ends up on. I just think he's a master at what he does, Tarantino. The way that this is, I think, in my eyes, this is the best written film of all time. Like obviously, film is subjective and all that, but this is my favorite script of all time. Like it was my favorite movie. My favorite movie now is Saving Private Ryan, but this one has my favorite script of all time. I think the dialogue is so interesting, as you mentioned with quotes. Even today, I thought of this while you were saying it. Even today, I quoted this movie, and everybody does because I'm in math right now, and it sucks. And one of my friends is trying to explain it to another person, and probably me too. And then as he's explaining it, I got really close to my mic and I went, English, motherfucker, do you
Do
speak
you
it?
speak it?
And I just like yelled that at him. It was like it was funny, and we were all laughing. It just shows how popular and how special this movie is. It's like once in a lifetime type movie. Although, Inglourious Basterds is once in a lifetime. Pulp Fiction is Reservoir Dogs, like Kill Bill. Like all these movies are ironically once in a lifetime, if that makes sense. And it's just a brilliant movie. I mean, the cast is one of the best casts of all
Oh,
time.
it's in my yeah, that one and The Departed I think are the two best castings
Yes,
of all time.
I
Those are
think
the
so.
two
Like,
best castings of
yeah,
all
you
time
got
for me.
John Travolta, Samuel L. Jackson, Uma Thurman, Bruce
Thurman, Bruce
Willis,
Willis, Christopher Walken, Eric
Tim Roth,
Stoltz.
yeah,
Yep. Amanda Plummer. Yeah, I mean those are just the ones
Ving
I can think of
Rhames.
off the top of my head. Ving Rhames, yes, as Marcellus Wallace.
Does he look
Tarantino
like a bitch?
himself. Does he look like a
True.
bitch?
Yeah,
Tarantino himself making, in
despite
my
what he
opinion,
says
definitely
in
the
that
best.
cameo.
No, I was gonna say, I think in that to me is probably my favorite cameo of all time for sure. It's so good,
Yeah,
so
I
good.
think like it's fun. It's like yes, what he's saying is bad, but it's a Tarantino movie, so you come to expect that. But I think like from an acting perspective, and it probably is my favorite too. Acting perspective, he is fantastic. Also Harvey Keitel, I just thought of obviously.
How could I forget the wolf?
Yeah, the wolf. Yeah. I mean, I've seen this movie so many times. It's over 2.5 hours, and it's so rewatchable. Like, there's always that part of me that watches it every year. I think I've seen it every single year since I first watched it once or twice. And it's
Yeah.
just because it's that special of a movie and it just has like this hook to it. It makes you want to go back and revisit it, obviously, because it's told kind of out of order and this goes here, this loops back to here. So it's all interesting in the end. And there's still theories to this day of what's in the briefcase. Like what really wasn't, and people say Marcel's well, this is sold because of
Sold his
the
soul to
band.
the devil.
Yeah, like the bandit on the back of his head and the briefcase number I think was 666, although I could be wrong there.
It was
Uh,
666. Yeah,
yeah,
it
I
was.
thought so. So like there's all these theories and still it's kind of funny that Tarantino, like he said, like I'm not gonna confirm it because it would be cool to hear people's theories of your movie from 1994. And we're talking
Yeah.
about 1994 in my eyes, the best year for movies ever. I
Oh,
mean, Pulp
yes.
Fiction, Forrest Gump, Shawshank Redemption, Lion King, Speed, The Crow, What's Eating Gilbert Grape, so many more. Like that alone. So
1994 and 2019, I think, are the two best for film. Those are my two
2019 was
favorites of all time.
unbelievable too. And we got Once Upon a Time in Hollywood there too, which is, of course, more
Another
Tarantino.
Tarantino,
Just
yes.
so much. And I think that when it comes to iconic scenes, this is one of the films that I always think of because there are so many in the monologues. Ezekiel 25, was it 25:17? Something like that.
Ezekiel 25:17, yeah.
Yeah, the path of the righteous man is beset on. Yeah, it's just like it's one
See,
of
and you
those.
could even go on, like, you could even just quote it all right now if you wanted to. I
Yeah,
mean, like,
I
it's one of those
actually
things you don't forget,
Yeah,
you
I
know?
actually memorized that for my original review of Pulp Fiction back in 2019, which is now deleted, I think. If not, it will be by the time this video goes up. But I memorized it all, and it's like that scene gets stuck in your head. Obviously, the start, and even in the starting scene, they quote that in Game Night from 2019. Rachel McAdams and Jason Bateman obviously quote that. It's just like such an iconic movie. There's so many people like I think we could probably dive into the whole film bro thing about how people always hate on you for saying this is your favorite movie because it's such a basic choice. But I always find it funny because you go on Twitter and you say Pulp Fiction is my favorite movie. People are like, watch more movies, watch this. You know, you don't actually like movies. Then you go tell like an adult, like somebody who say like 40 plus, and they're like, hell yeah, man, like you're so cool. It's so funny. I think the difference is like, what's your take on that?
So, I mean, my thing is like for people calling Pulp Fiction a basic choice. What I'm gonna say is the only reason why they think that is because it's an essential movie. It's a movie
Yep.
that everyone has either seen or heard of, and it's one that every film nerd has to get crossed off their list at some point. In fact, I mean, think about it this way though. The people who say, "Oh, it's such a basic choice," what would their reaction be if, say, you didn't see it? They would be like, "Oh, how have you
Yeah.
not seen it?" It's
Yeah.
like they would be such a
Oh,
hypocrite. So it's like,
outsmarted.
it's like anything else. I mean, Star Wars, I don't know, Goodfellas. It's like a movie that it's just everyone's got to see it at some point, even if it's not your new favorite. Because I mean, I was talking to Josh, for example, and he definitely thinks I don't know if he has said it's overrated, but he definitely it doesn't register with him as like it does with everyone else. And
Yeah.
what I told him is like, look, like we all have different takes and opinions and stuff and tastes. And even if it's not your favorite movie or even favorite Tarantino movie, such as it isn't for him, he can at least admit that on a technical level, everything about it is well done. There isn't, my opinion, anything the film does wrong. Because did you see my birthday recap video by chance?
I
Um,
saw most of it. I can't remember if I finished it, but I think I did.
okay. So what happened was, so I went and saw Pulp Fiction at the theater for my birthday. We privately rented
Oh,
a
that's
movie
sick.
theater. Hell yeah. Um, we privately rented a movie theater and invited, obviously because of COVID and crap, we couldn't have more than 20 people. So it was all my close friends and family we all got to see my favorite movie in the theater, and
Wow.
obviously my first time seeing it at the theater. And what's funny is it actually, there were people there who had already seen it in the theater when it first came out, such as my dad, a couple of our family friends. Like it was almost like reliving past memories for them, which honestly, like I kind of wish that that was me too. But nonetheless though, that reminds me though, when I was talking, my step grandmother was there, my mom's stepmom, and she goes, Alex, why do you love this movie so much? Like, yeah, it's a good movie, but why? And it wasn't that she didn't like it. But she was like, but of all the greatest movies like out there, why is this your favorite? And I said, well, question with the question, why not? What I said is, what is there to change about this movie? Everything about it is like made and done amazing. I mean, like I said, the cast is great, the visuals are great, the soundtrack is, in my opinion, one of the best soundtracks of all time. The dialogue, it's which another thing we gotta talk about too with the
Yeah.
dialogue. It is, in my opinion, also like one of the most engaging movies ever. Like all the conversations just force you to be. It's not a movie you can just throw on in the background while you do homework. Like
Yeah.
it's a movie where it keeps your attention and keeps you focused on the movie. Um, and I mean, you have like it does it in a way where the conversations these characters have in the movie, it's weird because they're casual, they're normal everyday conversations, but yet they're written in a way that don't make you feel bored or get you to daydream or get sidetracked or anything like that. It's like it forces you to pay attention. And I think that's when you can write a captivating script like that. I mean, Tarantino is a writing mastermind genius. The like I said, production sets and the production design is great. The editing is very simplistic, but is
Yes.
freaking awesome. It's so bare bones, like so bare minimum, but yet amazing. The transitions I think are great between scenes because I mean, and the out of order thing, as you said, out of chronological order is done well, and it's also done in a way where it makes sense too, because I don't know if you've heard me say it before, but I don't like movies that are overly confusing, like Tenet, for example. I like movies that propose a good challenge and leave you with a good stumper, such as like The
Okay.
Shining, for example. Like it's like, oh, like wait, what did I just watch? Like stuff like that. I
Yeah.
like a good puzzle, but I don't like being flipped upside down. You know what I mean? Um, but Pulp Fiction does it in a way where you might have to think about it for a second and like kind of recap like what happened at what time. Like it makes you think, but it doesn't like it's not overly confusing to the point where it's like someone like me, for example, who doesn't like movies that I'm just gonna have like an ending explained. Like I'm gonna have to be forced to watch that later to get it. It's not like that at all to me. Um, I feel like especially like with seniors, for example, I feel like a lot of older folks like get like very confused with movies like that. I don't think Pulp Fiction like is confusing to the point where it would like completely flip someone upside down. It's the best level of confusing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
like the way it's told kind of all it's strung together well enough to give you a cohesive ending, I guess. And I mean, going way back on it, but as you mentioned with showing it to a bunch of people, I was supposed to see this at a drive-in in September it was, and then it was an
mm,
insanely like shitty night and rainy and all that. So it was like a group of my at the time friends and we just watched it in my basement and there was like a few people, some didn't pay attention at all, just it's a whole other story. But I actually wrote down some, yeah, I actually wrote down in my last letterbox log or review of it, I guess. So if you guys can look it up, I'll link it down below where I wrote like their opinions. And actually one of my friends he said, "Well, I need to watch it again, but I know it was a very good movie." Like he said he was talking about how he thought it was a very well-made movie. Like even if it wasn't their favorite, like they can appreciate the filmmaking that's shown there. And
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
this is such an iconic movie. And just to wrap it up a little bit, do you have a favorite scene in particular, or a favorite character, or favorites?
Favorite character, definitely the top. I mean, everyone is awesome, but I mean Samuel Jackson is my or Jules, I should call him because that's the character's name, is my favorite. I also love Butch. Bruce Willis does a great job. It's actually my favorite Bruce Willis performance. And then my favorite scene. Oh, that's so tricky, man. Of course, when we're wrapping it up, we're asking the hardest question. Crap. If I had to pick my favorite, my favorite scene from the entire film, it's tricky, but my favorite part is actually the very last scene, because it's the scene that, if any other time in the movie, once you realize that, because the movie is about worlds colliding, three main stories are three different, like, mini movies, I guess you could say, are all combined and they all collide. Once you realize where Vince and Jules are at in the last scene, you're like, oh, because you know that something
Yeah.
is gonna freaking happen. You know this is not gonna end pretty, and you know that something is bound to happen. And you know that the diner robbers are going to meet, or Pumpkin and Honey Bunny, I should call them, are going to meet Jules and Vincent, but you know it's coming, but you don't know how it's gonna happen. You
Yeah.
have an idea that something's about to happen, but you don't know what. And that is just like, I mean, I can't even recreate, like, all of my friends and family in the theater, their reaction. They were just, when that clicked for them, they were like, "Oh shit!" Like, it was the funniest freaking thing ever. And
That is so
also,
awesome.
but what I really like about it is that and I'll try to say it as fast as I can to wrap it up. But one of my favorite things I also love about this movie, it has um, an underlying theme of redemption, because Jules, towards the end of the movie, realizes that he can't live this life anymore. He realizes that he's trying to turn himself around. This isn't what people are supposed to be or do, murdered each other you know, um, for cold-blooded reasons. He realizes that the life he's been living is wrong. And so he tells Marcellus that he needs to leave the life. He chooses redemption, and he even ends up saving the day without ever firing a shot from his gun. He ends up, like, saving the entire diner with no one ended up getting hurt or killed without a shot ever being fired, and he ended up ultimately saving the day for everyone, and became the good guy and the hero at the end. Now Vincent did not. He chose to still party and do drugs, and he chose to still be a hitman ultimately. And he had the choice when Jules was saying, "Hey, I'm gonna walk the earth." That was Vincent's opportunity. That was Jules opening the door for him, saying, "Hey, like, it's not too late. Like, we have a second chance." Well, Vince said, "No, you're gonna be lame. You're gonna be a fucking bum," as famously quoted. And he chose to stay in the life and to, like I said, still party and be a hitman and whatever. And ultimately, look, the karma caught up to him, and he was killed. He, yep. That's another freaking awesome scene. But yeah,
Oh yeah.
it's just like I said. I think it's awesome that underlying theme is there, and it's like you don't think about it till after, but it's really cool the way it's hinted. You know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
agree. Yeah, I totally agree. And just like a small detail is that I find it interesting. I don't know if you knew this, you probably did, but there's a reason why Vincent's always on the toilet, and it's because heroin makes you
Makes
constipated.
you,
And that's
yeah.
yeah, and that's why he's always on the toilet. But for favorite character, I mean, I've gone between Vince and Jules, but and then also even Mia's come in there, but I've got to say Jules. And for favorite scene, I think the ending scene's probably the best scene in the movie. It's either that one or the iconic, you will
The
know my
apartment
name's the
scene,
Lord. Yeah, like
yeah.
the apartment scene, English motherfucker, do you speak it? Like all that.
That whole scene is
It's
great.
just flawless. I think this movie is absolutely flawless. One of my favorite movies, one of yours, one of most people's, or people are either going to tell you that you're an idiot, don't listen to them because obviously this is one of the most iconic movies. Even on the back of the Blu-ray cover, it says a spectacularly entertaining piece of pop culture. Obviously, it's one of the most iconic movies of all time, one of the best, and one of my favorites, one of yours. And I have to thank you for coming on the channel. Ah, there it is there. That's
Poster,
awesome.
hell yeah.
It's like apparently the most popular dorm room poster, or at least it was, and then like Joker
Honestly, yeah.
surpassed it. But I gotta thank you, man, for coming on. All of his stuff will be linked down below. It was a lot of fun. Got to make another video soon. And thank you all for watching. Comment down below your thoughts on Pulp Fiction. Is it one of your favorite movies? And thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Over and out.
Thanks for having me on.